Welcome back to Legacy of Fury. We've gone over Fist of Fury in the first chapter and then spent the bulk of the last chapter talking about a bunch of lowbrow exploitation types of sequels and remakes. But see, if the rest of the story was just continuing diminished returns, then the legacy would kind of play itself out, right? And so what we need is a tentpole movie to give us more fuel to keep this thing going. Okay, now because the title card for the episode is clearly the one and only Mr. Jet Li, everybody is going to be expecting that we're going to be talking about Fist of Legend. And we will. But before we do, we have two other movies worth talking about. Fist of Fury 1991. It came out in 1991, but the actual full title is Fist of Fury 1991. So, aside from the name, I don't think that there's much connecting Fist of Fury 1991 with the original 1972 version. It's a modern-day comedy about a guy with one really strong, powerful fist and one wimpy fist, and that's incredibly weak. While Bruce and Jackie came before him, I don't think I make Stephen Chow out to be one of the kings of Kung Fu, but if somebody pushed me on it, it's not the hill that I would die on. I mean, just between Shaolin Soccer and Kung Fu Hustle, those two movies put him on the list. His filmography is lengthy and riddled with monster hits, but does he ever top Jackie or Jet? But as one of the greats, he is yet another name attempting to scale the Bruce Lee legacy, and in this case, maybe scale isn't the right word, maybe complement?
霍師傅，我哋啲日本朋友話霍師傅係冇興趣嘅話，我哋都唔勉強啦。不過請你收咗呢塊牌佢啦。係，
仲記得場戲點做嘛？
記得食屎啊嘛！食啊，食㗎啦嚇！噴泡啊嘛！哇，好滯㗎喎！
今次要你食晒張紙，下次要你食埋個框。
I mean, it's also spoofing several other different movies, and I'm sure I'm missing a bunch of the references, but I know the opening scene is a spoof of his previous movie, All for the Winner, as well as Rocky gets spoofed in there, and it kind of feels like Fist of Fury is just another parody instead of the parody for the movie. And the spit fight was disgusting. There's a spit fight, and I don't know why it got to me, but it was just really gross, just horking loogies in each other's face. But then this happened. The fight scenes are great, and the physicality of fight scenes transcend language, transcend cultural barriers, which is why martial arts movies do so well in the West. This being a comedy might be a little tougher. The sensibilities are just different. Like, here's a scene where the gangsters are making deals, but using entrees as codes for bombs and bullets, etc.
你大我啊！你當個西環啲鳳爪係流㗎？
咁講落去都係兩敗俱傷嘅啫。如果你邊條牛肉我食嘅，我將旺角兩檔雞扎俾咗你。
雞扎我嘅有啦，嗱。最多我交多3碗上個月喺越南運嚟嘅蓮子羹俾你啦。
蓮子羹有咩用啊？我屋企用成身菠蘿添啊！唔好講啦，我再大方啲，加多碟肉片炒河粉啦。你知啲粉幾好利錢㗎啦，而家成碟粉俾咗你喎，唔夠啊？搭多2條油菜啦。
油菜咩意思啊？
冇咩意思㗎。
And did you notice that everybody smokes? I mean, it's also clearly a product of its time. 1991 is also riddled with gay jokes that I don't think have aged that well either.
參頓㗎，
我揾唔到隻叉，家陣就用隻羹。
啊，匙羹啊！
你兩個做咩啊？
冇嘢，我同佢挑緊嗰度啊嘛，佢正話。
係啊，話知你挑花啦，行啦，唔好睇啦，睇過都洗眼啊！
There was also a sequel the next year, so like Fist of Fury 1991, Part 2, came out in 1992. It's not confusing. It's never confusing. Now, while I'm including it here because of the name, I don't really have anything to add about Part 2. It's even less connected to Fist of Fury than Part 1 was. But I do think it's worth including in this rundown because in the previous chapter we saw how Jackie Chan and a whole host of others couldn't replicate Bruce Lee. And with all the cheap clones, middling success, I think the brand was seen as sort of untouchable. I had mentioned in the last chapter that I would have liked to see Jackie Chan do his take on Fist of Fury and bring a little comedy to it. And while Chow's sensibilities are certainly different than Jackie's, I think this is as close as we're likely to get. When Jet Li remade Fist of Fury into Fist of Legends, people say it was a bold choice, and certainly it was, absolutely. But we can also see that Stephen Chow softened things up by making these parody films first, and maybe it broke the ice a little bit. Maybe it was just time. Now, one of the things that I could have mentioned throughout the first 2 chapters is just how blatantly racist the movies are against the Japanese, if it wasn't already obvious. But I held off until now because I don't just want to complain about something that sucks. I'd rather look at how we can fix those elements without sacrificing any of the potency of the message.
Isn't it a pity? Every movie's got to have a message.
In fact, it further expands on these themes with a more rounded perspective by giving us well-rounded Japanese characters with more than one dimension. And that's exactly what they did in Fist of Legend. And it isn't just the few baddies that we see inferring and mentioning the occupation of Shanghai. There's a much larger scope that Fist of Legend brings.
When the Japanese soldiers are out of Shanghai, then I'll return.
Our leaders can be very hard to persuade,
Then we'll be extremely persuasive. We'll make your leaders listen to us.
Shenzhen, don't hate us all.
I don't hate.
In the original Bruce Lee version, Bruce finds out that his master was poisoned. In Fist of Legend, we also get to see the Japanese side of that revelation, again showing that there are indeed honorable Japanese following a code of honor, setting up that this villain is truly just a rat bastard.
What? It's something they can't hear? Huh? You poisoned the Ying Wu master!
The Chinese resistance was led by their master. We knew that without him, the resistance would be quickly annihilated. We were depending on you, my friend, to destroy the Fist of Legend. You couldn't. You'd have failed. Therefore, we did it ourselves.
Poisoners!
But you must admit, it gets the job done.
You have no conscience, but I am a samurai. I thought we would do battle according to our honor. You made them sick with your poison. You are not worthy of the samurai spirit!
Right at the beginning of the movie, instead of just seeing Chen Zhen arrive home for the funeral, we get to go back and have a scene where he's in Japan at school, and he's picked on by a bunch of bullies. His Japanese girlfriend is there to defend him. Not like in a fight scene or anything, but she's on his side, and then we meet her uncle, who delivers the news that Chen's master, Ho Yunjia, has died. I think they call him Master Wa. So already we get a deeper set of Japanese characters than just the bullies. We also get examples of more reasonable and less prejudiced Japanese people with some dimension to them. And yeah, his girlfriend's Japanese. You got a problem with that? And being pretty honest with themselves, the filmmakers also used Chen's exile from the school as a chance to show some nasty prejudice towards the Japanese people on the part of the Chinese people by showing no respect to this lady simply because of her ethnicity, despite the fact that she had just come to his defense again.
Now that's a foolish mistake. Finish school and then find a wife. Better still, find a Chinese wife.
Don't you see? Mitsuko had to give up everything for me. Her home and her family in Japan. She even lied in court.
Well, I've always heard that Japanese women are born to lie.
It's simple. She's just not welcome here. Understand? She can leave by herself, or you both leave Jingwu.
And after leaving the school, we also better see how ostracized from society he was by his own people, who wouldn't allow a Japanese woman to stay at their hotels.
Sir, any rooms?
Sure. Right this way, sir.
Okay, let's go.
Oh, she's Japanese. Please, not in my hotel.
We're together. You understand.
Look at them. That's Shenzhen. He's a traitor.
Look, I'm sorry.
You don't belong here. Back to Japan. Come on. Get out of
Go away before one of you gets hurt.
Come on, let's go.
Everything in this movie is bigger and more nuanced and better and shinier and more impressive. This is the superior production to Fist of Fury in every way except that it doesn't have Bruce Lee. And to his credit, Jet isn't trying to replace Bruce. Unlike Jackie, Jet was able to be a star first and then come to this project and make the role of Chen Zhen his own.
You cannot imitate Bruce Lee. And I guess the major reasons why I convinced him into doing it was I don't want him to imitate. I want a new character. I want to kind of build up a new character for him. And there we start.
Even so, Gordon Chan does admit in this interview that they did want to pay homage to Bruce Lee with the dancing footwork and the Kato costume that he wore in The Green Hornet. Now, I don't want to play the which is better game, really. Everyone's going to have their own personal favorite. I just want to stress the improvements and the quality that are in this movie. As I was saying at the beginning, after so many rip-offs and parodies, in order to keep a legacy like Fist of Fury alive, and potent for audiences, really, you need a great success tentpole movie. This is it.
Fist of Legend didn't really do well in the market. We didn't lose money, luckily.
Damn it, seriously? Yeah, well, neither did Blade Runner. And you know what? It couldn't have been a terrible failure if it gave us a sequel, sort of. Our next movie is Fist of Legends 2, Iron Bodyguards from 1996. Brought to us onto DVD by the good people at Wu-Tang Clan, this thing is built on grift. The title's a knockoff. The star Jet Li with one E is a knockoff playing a Chen Zhen knockoff called Chen Jan. It's a knockoff. That joke is actually funnier, the knockoff joke is actually funnier when you realize that the white guy in the movie is actually more famous for being Jean-Claude Van Damme's stunt double than for this or any other acting role he might have ever done. Of course, it could also be because this isn't much of a movie. All the stuff with Jet Li with one E and JCVD's stunt double was filmed for the production, but then they splice in the rest from a 1974 movie called The Bodyguard that has Bolo Young and nunchucks, and features a story about Dr. Sun Yat-sen on the run from assassins. Let's talk about Sun Yat-sen for a moment. Sun Yat-sen is a doctor, a politician, a philosopher, and revolutionary who is one of the key figures responsible for overthrowing the Qing dynasty in its last days in an attempt to modernize a failing monarchy, and who became the first president of the Republic of China. This happens in 1911, which is only 1 year after the events of Fist of Fury. All the failures of the Qing that we've talked about that led to the Japanese occupation and the failures to protect their own citizens and the loss of Korea, Sun Yat-sen is one of the key figures in the movement that overthrows that old regime. Sun Yat-sen is also an ally of Chen Zhen's real-life master, Huo Yunjie. He spent many years in exile and has had a few movies actually made about his life. He also has memorials and schools and parks named after him worldwide, including one here in Vancouver. Back to Fist of Legends 2, Iron Bodyguards. Interestingly, the 1974 movie The Bodyguard that they spliced in has been remade since as Bodyguards and Assassins in 2009, which is a phenomenal movie starring Donnie Yen. They're trying to help smuggle Dr. Sun into the city, and they've got to travel like 16 blocks in rickshaws through the alleyways and everything, as they are beset on all sides by
the inequities of the selfish and the tyranny of evil men.
Yeah, it's that kind of a big, serious movie. And it's also got a bit of... yeah. Now, for this 1996 mashup movie, the main issue, of course, is that the two stories never meet or interact, and so it just feels cheap and pointless. But I don't want to bum anybody out, so let's take a look at a scene where there's a hairball ninja fight. A hairball ninja fight. I've never seen anything quite like this. I don't know, is this a common ninja skill? Hairball fights? And then finally, the movie ends on 2 frames of text, the first of which is factual, and the second of which is a total fabrication. The Chinwoo School had disbanded in the 1960s, but were back within 10 years, and are still going worldwide. And then Chan Jun is a fictitious character, and so that's all weird to talk about his life afterwards. You can skip it. So that wraps up this chapter. I personally think Fist of Legend is the only movie that rivals Fists of Fury. Politely have a difference of opinion below in the comments, and next chapter we're going to cover the last of the 4 Kung Fu Kings. Here's a hint. I already mentioned him in this chapter, and didn't I just flat out say who was going to be in each chapter at the beginning of the first chapter? Anyway, see you next time.